Hey, everybody, just adjusting the camera, but welcome to the show. My name is Chris. I'm your host, and this is the weekly spinner rack. Let me just try to get that. I came down here to start the show, and my cats had knocked over a bunch of stuff I've got on shelves behind the camera, which had like knocked every bit of equipment into a different position than I've ever seen before. So just doing some last minute adjustments, but it's great to see you folks. Welcome to the show. We're going to talk about a lot of comic book news, including some really last minute news that was just breaking today. We're going to talk about some amazing comics that came out this week. A lot to talk about. Let me first give some shout outs to people that are in the live chat early. Always nice to have people there. We've got ChemDog and oh, lovely, a super chat from Kevin. Thank you. That's a lovely way for me to start the show. Let's say hello to my weird nerdy neighbors. I see that Clay is here. Yep, talking about IDW later today. We've also got Will and Steve Sorensen's pretty much always here. Lots of regular names that I'm noticing. Hello to R. Estrada and Spider Phil. Hello, Rodrigo. Shout out to One Bite Snack. Awesome. Yeah, lots of people. Okay, now it's going super fast. It's caught up with the fact that I started live. But hello. We are going to have a lovely time. Just dropping a bunch of these, but it's going too fast. I can't catch it all. Thank you. Thank you for being here is what I'm saying. Lovely to have everybody. We're going to have some good times today. We've got some wild news. Some of it's really positive stuff. Some of it's dark, but we're going to just joke around and have fun with it and make fun of others' misfortune. No, I'm just kidding. It's not that bad or anything. It's some crazy stuff. I'm trying to think if there's any housekeeping items that I have. No, not really. Just that I just today got a huge shipment from Dynamite of the Vampirella covers that I'll be doing signatures and remarks. So those will get done shortly and be sent out. You know what? Now that I have everybody here, I'm curious for people who have actually signed or done little remarks, sketches on existing comic book covers. Any particular pen or brush or marker that you would recommend? Because now that I think of it, I've never really done that before. So I'm open to suggestions there. Also, I uploaded the latest Comic Tropes episode. That's a look at a, I think, pretty funny Golden Age character. It was around from 1940 through 1950, basically. His name was Dick Cole. No, that I'm not making a joke or anything. His name was Dick Cole. Dick Cole. So we have some fun with that. Lovely to have everybody here, though. You'd like PayPod to sign yours? That would definitely bring the value down very quickly, which is something a Pacepot Beat-esque villain would do. Let's see. Dick Cole might be the craziest one you've ever covered. I think that 7-Eleven probably still holds a special place in my heart, but maybe. Some recommendations there. A Sharpie. Okay. Used a silver Sharpie on dark pages and covers. This is a fairly light one, so maybe I will use like a fine tip black Sharpie. Maybe that's what I'll do. I've probably got one or two that I can test it on to be sure. Wasn't Dick Cole the bad guy in RoboCop? That was Dick Jones. I work for Dick Jones. You hear me? Dick Jones. Yes, Dick Cole, not to be confused with Dick Co. Richard Propane. That sounds Richard Profane, if you ask me. I don't know. I like that Dick Cole is more interesting than most Golden Age characters. He lasted longer than most of the ones that I cover. A lot of the ones that I cover really only have like maybe one story, maybe like 5 stories. This guy did last 10 years. Like, why isn't he remembered? Well, there's a reason. Italy, lovely. Thank you. Ciao. And the Kuretake brush pen has served me well in my experience. I'm looking. Do I have one of those? Wait, what do I have here? I just realized. No, I think that this is a cheapo pen that I got myself. I think I got this at Daiso that I looked at closely. So that was just to play with. Well, we'll figure that out. Thank you all for the advice. Oh, look. Always exciting to have a professional comic book artist and create Jim Mahfood in the house. Is Dick Cole related to Dick Sprang and Dick the Birthday Boy? I'm always down for a nice Rich Evans or Red Letter Media reference. I very much appreciate that. Thank you very much, Jim. Oh my goodness. Also got Kyle. And I know that actually Jim drew a cover for Kyle Higgins' No One. Kyle, I'll definitely be talking about your comics. I do the comics reviews at the tail end after the news, but I'll just say early, since Kyle is here and he wrote this, folks, I love this. Now, I'm predisposed to love this. This is a book about the beginnings of the jazz age, 1917 New Orleans. And I lived in New Orleans for 4 years and grew to have a lot of affection for that city. It introduced me to a lot of interesting culture, both food and music, some great, great memories. I love it there. So I found this very authentic and captivating. Great story. We'll be talking about that later, but an early recommendation. Oh, and there's a search. I always want to acknowledge that. I always appreciate the support. Thank you, Rodrigo. Chris, don't you wish Golden Age comics would have crossover events like modern comics so we could see Dick Cole fight Big Dicks from Blue Beetle? Yes, that would be delightful. That would be really good. That would be really good. We'll get the news started in just a sec. Thank you for the kind words, folks. Hope you're feeling better. I'm on a high because I get to talk to all of you, and I'm talking about my favorite topic, comic books. I'm in a lot of pain, a lot. But I saw a doctor this morning, and I got prescribed a heck of a lot of drugs while we're working to figure out exactly what's wrong with my shoulder. It is now sort of spread into my neck, but that might be a pinched nerve, which is something that can go away. I mean, I've got industrial strength ibuprofen and acetaminophen that I need to take a lot of to sort of keep it in my system to sort of help with the inflammation. And then I've got a muscle relaxer. I've got a pretty damn powerful opioid. So I've got some serious drugs that I'm going to be pumping into my system. And I'm willing to do anything at this point to try to relieve the pain because it is intense. All right. So well-being. I'm seeing some other names. Hello, K-Bar. Hello, A-Man. Oh, hello, Andy Kuhn, the only comics pro whose name is a complete sentence. Dick Sprang. Yes. All right. The only comics pro whose name is a complete sentence. That sounds like a challenge. I'm not going to figure it out right now, but Andy, I'm going to give that some very serious thought to see if I can figure out any other comic book artist whose name is a sentence. I like that. And hello, Daniel. Folks, Daniel writes some really nice comics. I lettered one for him, and he also has a YouTube channel up under his name. He's been going to Japan lately, and so you can see a Swedish perspective on getting rickshaw rides and doing karaoke. I definitely meant that. Boy, this is a slow start to the news, isn't it? But you guys are saying such nice things. I am loving Radiant Black. Steve just paid me $2 to tell Kyle that he loves Radiant Black, but that's nice. That's nice. Radiant Black is definitely a really entertaining superhero book that's doing some stuff a little bit differently. You know what? A lot of people here had something like that to me, Spike. I don't partake, but maybe I will get a CBD tincture or something like that. And we've got Shane, the owner of my local comic shop. So Shane, always nice to have you in here. Hopefully I can entertain you for the last couple hours at work. We've got a bunch. I've got like a series in the news here where we're going to be talking about 4 different comic book stores, 4 separate pieces of news about comic stores all look at this. With work professionals today, folks, because there's EJ Sue, beautiful artist, works on Marvel's Test Kitchen for their digital comics. You've probably been seeing lately a lot of his work on like covers for Godzilla and stuff from IDW. EJ is a beautiful, beautiful guy. Both a person and his artwork. All right. Tell you what, that's plenty. All right. That's okay. Fine. I'll acknowledge that Steve also sent me a super sticker. Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. Let's get started with some news. There's the thumbnail. So I pulled up the right document. And we will be talking about IDW. I'm definitely I'm more concerned with the people that work for them than the company itself, but we'll get to that news. I want to start off with something a little lighter, a little more fun. So this was breaking just today. Look at that, the beautiful Margot Robbie. I shouldn't have started with just necessarily saying she's beautiful, because she is beautiful, but I'll tell you something. Margot Robbie's a really talented actress, and I think that she's already shown a lot of range in her career, from a role that could be thankless, like on The Wolf of Wall Street, to playing Tanya Harding. A lot of us, of course, know her as Harley Quinn, and I think that she had a different take on that than just sort of doing the Arlene Sorkin voice and taking it from there. But anyway, the news here is that she has been offered the role of Sue Storm, the Invisible Woman, in the Fantastic Four movie. Now, that does not mean that she's accepted it, but they've tendered that. This comes from Daniel Richtman, who last week broke the news that Adam Driver had been offered the role of Reed Richards. I'll be honest, age-wise, like acting capability-wise, Adam Driver and Margot Robbie would be a pretty strong team if Marvel were to get them, and probably would also help with the first weekend's box office. Rickman also had two other casting things that he was breaking. Now, Marvel hasn't confirmed these, and these are just offers, but Daniel Richtman has an impeccable track record on Hollywood news. He is not a gossip guy. He just has sources. I think he's a very trustworthy source. Supposedly they offered the role of Galactus to Antonio Banderas. That's some outside the box thinking, I suppose. Not something I was expecting. I would presume that that's primarily a voice role. I don't know that it would make sense to necessarily have somebody's face under that huge helmet. I don't know. Like, it sounds like a CG type of role. But anyway, when Antonio Banderas talks slowly and quietly, he's got some bass to his voice, doesn't he? It's an interesting idea. Daniel Richtman also said that the role of Johnny Storm was offered to Paul Mescal. Now, I would say that he's definitely less well known, an Irish actor, but he's definitely got some acting chops. He's done a lot of serious dramatic roles. Hey, who knows if any of this will happen? But honestly, I thought this was mostly fun news to speculate about what this would be like if these people all accept. They make sense. They make sense. I don't know. I think another important role now, probably the most important roles are Reed Richards and Sue Storm. I think that sets the tone, but we all love Ben Grimm, the Thing. We all love him. He's just such a lovable character. So they have to get that one right too. That's pretty important. It's all pretty important. Yeah, of course. I hope so too. One piece of kind of good news about the Fantastic Four script, in my opinion, was that they have started from scratch and they got Josh Friedman to write a treatment. Personally, I do like Josh Friedman's work quite a bit. The thing I first noticed was he was the guy who created the show Terminator, the Sarah Connor Chronicles. Sort of a show that went under the radar, even though it had the Terminator name on it. I thought it was fantastic. it was about family and sci-fi stuff. Makes sense. He also created the adaptation, TV adaptation of Snowpiercer. Now that was based on a French comic book, and he's writing all the Avatar movies from number 2 forward, which is certainly a big deal. So yes, the script is incredibly important. Look, at this point, I think we all know that Marvel cannot keep phoning things in if they want their cinematic universe to continue. They have to give us really good stories because they've only kind of been average for the most part lately. Fantastic Four, I would call like Spider-Man and Wolverine are like the best known Marvel characters, right? But in terms of characters that set the tone of the Marvel universe, I think Fantastic Four and Captain America are both super, super important. Anyway, some fun news. Some fun news. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. That's an interesting idea. John Cena as Ben Grimm. I'd have to double check his age. I feel like maybe should be a little younger for this movie, but it's an interesting idea. It's an interesting idea. Let's see. I don't think they were phoning it in. I think they just missed getting Chloe Zhao wasn't a phone in. It was a misfire. Oh, and your mileage may vary on that one too. I actually didn't mind Eternals too much. I would have been interested in a very Jack Kirby inspired movie. That said, I love Jack Kirby. Eternals has never really been my favorite thing, so I wasn't super beholden to the source material there. I think Chloe Zhao made a beautiful looking movie that surprised me a little with its story. I wish that the deviants were a little less digital. But when I say phoning it in, I kind of mean more like, Black Widow and what was the most recent one? I'm even having trouble remembering. It wasn't even that long ago. What was the most recent Marvel movie? Ant-Man 3. They're fine. I wouldn't call them bad, but I wouldn't call them excellent. They're pretty mid. We'll see. We'll see. I did enjoy the last Spider-Man movie they made. Personally, I like the last Doctor Strange, and I'm hoping Guardians 3 is good. I hope. But that's just sort of comic book movie news. These are like tidbits. Look at that. There's Aaron Taylor Johnson running as Kraven the Hunter. I had zero interest in Kraven the Hunter as a movie until I heard the news this week. They showed a trailer at CinemaCon. That's an event where all of the big studios show trailers and sometimes full movies to theater owners and theater chain owners to get them to buy in. And according to like a lot of people, the trailer was something that got a huge reaction. Like a lot of people liked it. And they revealed that it's going to be a hard R-rated movie. The trailer apparently was like a Red Band trailer featuring Kraven just absolutely wiping out a bunch of soldiers in a savage way, even biting somebody's nose clean off. And I was like, oh, that's a way different interpretation than I expected. Maybe I'm slightly interested. Maybe. We'll see. By the way, if you want to see a badass violent movie, well, probably see John Wick 4. But I saw this past weekend Sisu. Wow. That's something like Rambo with like an older Finnish guy set at the final days of World War II in the Laplands of Finland. Just a badass guy desecrating a troop of Nazis, just absolutely effing them up. And I don't know, it wasn't like the deepest, but I thought it moved at a good pace and had some fantastic action beats. I loved it. I just was not expecting that. Let's see. Can't wait for Kraven to say, "I'm Kraven the Hunt," before he Kravenizes a bunch of people. Yeah, they should probably put all the Spider-Man Sony villains together and have them all, go, "It's Morbin time. I'm Kraven a fight." And I'm Madam Web in it. I don't know what that one will be. Yes. All right. Well, all right. I should have just talked about what was also in there because this one's probably got more potential. Blade. Blade hired a new writer. Now, they're about to film, and from what I read, they're not like completely rewriting the script. They're doing a revision, a little less intense. And that will be by Nick Pizzolatto, who did create and write True Detective, which I admired quite a bit. You could do a lot worse than hire somebody like that. So that could be cool. That could be pretty cool. Just some things that surprised me, I guess, about both of these movies. We'll see if they're good or not. But Madam Webbing it. That's good. This guy is a good actor. I thought the other Quicksilver was funnier, though. Well, that's fair. As to why does a Craven movie exist, that's an excellent question. I guess it's just that Sony has the rights, and Sony's gonna try to make some money off of a Spider-Man property. I don't think that they seem to understand 100% the value of what they have and what they don't have. I don't know. Let's go to some more news. This is about comics finally. This is a comic book show. Look at some of this beautiful artwork up here. Those are covers that Marvel has hired In-Hyuk Lee to do. This is Asian American Pacific Islanders Heritage Month. It's May now. And Marvel's celebrating that by highlighting 4 of their Asian characters, giving them covers and short stories within other titles. For instance, in Daredevil 11, Daredevil's going to team up with Lin Lee, who is the newest Iron Fist. We've got Nico Minoru, Sister Grimm from the Runaways. She'll be meeting Doctor Strange for the first time in a flashback story in Doctor Strange 3. Taeguchi is South Korea's premier superhero. He's going to team up with Ghost Rider. And we've got Wolverine teaming up with Sister Dagger. And Sister Dagger, if you don't know her, she's the sister of Shang-Chi. They did a version of her in the movie. They've got a comic book version. She's a badass. And all of these stories are going to be created by Asian creators. So that's good. I think that that's a cool move. They all sound good. K-Bar talking about Taeguchi. They should make a Tiger Division a permanent ongoing. It's a good series. I haven't read it yet. That's cool. Sony execs are just J. Jonah Jameson. Give me Spider-Man. So those actually sound like some decent team ups. Some of them make a lot of sense. You know, Daredevil meeting Iron Fist and Nico Minoru meeting Doctor Strange. Yeah, those really make sense. But they could all be fun. They could all be fun. No Collective Man this time. I don't know what the status even is of Collective Man, whether he's still around there. I think Shang-Chi had his powers for a while. But anyway. I've said it before, and I'm going to stick by it. If the MCU wants to have me do a cameo, it's got to be as Paste Pot Pete. And no, none of this Trapster stuff, all right? I'm not down with that. Paste Pot Pete is what I want. But those are all coming out in May. Cover alone looks cool. Some interesting ideas. Folks, this excited me so much. I made an episode about Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. I think he's just an incredible artist. Somebody that's naturally talented, but puts the work in. Just always nice, clean, expressive comics. Really, really good. In the 1980s, DC hired him to create their official style guide so that the characters would look right for their brand partnerships. Like if you wanted to put Batman on a pair of underoos, it needed to look like the same Batman that was on an action figure. And so the style guide, which was this huge, thick book of like all the DC characters, was created by Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. But that style guide has actually never been released in print officially. You can find a lot of this stuff online because we live in a digital age. Did you know? But look at this. They are going to use 16 pieces of his artwork. Might even be like 17 if you count the cover, for a calendar. DC is teaming up with a company called Trends International for a 2024 calendar. You can already pre-order it on Amazon. And I just thought that was super cool. I've definitely seen up here in the near the top right, this Lois Lane Superman one used somewhere or other before. Maybe it's just from my looking into this man's beautiful art. But some of these I haven't seen. I think it looks awesome. I think it just looks so cool. Oh yeah, I would aggressively turn them down if they were like, look, we want it to be Trapster and you'll actually have lines. I'd be like, no, that ain't happening. But if you want me as Paste Paw Pete, I'll do pretty much anything. Oh man, Atari Force is underrated. You'd think like something just based on a video game console, not even the games, on a video game console, that it wouldn't be good. But Jerry Conway and Jose Luis Garcia Lopez gave that book their all. It's really, really nice. Hey, hello, sister. We've got a packed audience tonight. This is great. Thanks for dropping in, everybody. Oh, I do agree with you, Clay. I would totally buy a style guide by him. Just hundreds of pages of the characters. And look, their overall depictions, I guess, are a little dated, but not that bad. Green Lantern and Flash pretty much look the same. Superman pretty much looks the same. There's probably been a little bit of variety and movement on Wonder Woman and Batman and that, but most of the characters look pretty similar. What's EJ saying? The brush pen I really like right now is called the Unipen Fineliner Brush Nib. I love the stiff brush tip for great control. Oh, okay. I don't think I have one of those. I was just looking to see Unipen. Nope. I was looking at some of the pens that I do have. Okay. Andy says that JLGL is a gift to comics. His miniseries Twilight. Yes, Twilight with Howard Chaykin. Definitely a little more adult than most of what we got to see from JLGL. Really, really cool. Really, really cool. Give this video a like. Aw, thank you. Thank you, Steve. Yeah. Hey, if you've got 2 seconds to just hit the like button, definitely helps. So thank you. Anyway, thought some people might want to know about that because great artist and everybody needs a calendar. We went through a long period talking about all the behind the scenes problems that actor Ezra Miller brought to the role of the Flash. But it seems like the actual reviews are really positive. I still find it a little hard to believe because, I mean, I've seen the trailers and the effects don't quite look finished to me. But this movie was screened for a bunch of people at CinemaCon. And here are some of the quotes. Now, these are by people that own the theaters, but they're going to talk up the movies that they like. They're not going to say something nice about every single movie because this is their money on the line. Here were some quotes. I thought it was worth sharing. One person said, I absolutely loved it. It's got heart. It's got soul. You care about the characters. It's going to be big. Another person said, it's one of the best DC films ever made. Not sure that's the highest bar to cross, to be honest, but still. And then this one was interesting, too. The movie will have legs since people will see it more than once. In sort of separate but related news, the director, Andy Muschietti, who has done some good movies, I will say that. Didn't he do the It movies? I really liked that first one. And he did some other good like horror movie type stuff. Anyway, the director confirmed that the movie will have, according to him, tons of DC cameos. but not specifically Grant Gustin, like the TV Flash, not him. Hold on, I thought I saw. Oh yeah, yep, he did do a miniseries called Cinder and Ash. It's also sort of a good crime drama book. I feel like the coloring on it, they made this Vietnamese character like too yellow, but aside from that, the art and the story are really, really strong. Yeah, I recommend it. I really don't like Ezra Miller, but begrudgingly look forward to Keaton Batman. I kind of feel the same. Feel the same. Yes, that was. Wait, was it called Mama, or was Mama the one with? He did do a horror movie. Sorry, a couple of my comics fell off the table. Maybe it was called Mama. Anyway, yeah, he did a good horror movie. He's done a couple good horror movies. I don't know how that translates to superhero stuff, but it was good. We'll see how good it is. I feel at this point obligated to see it, but I don't know if I'm excited yet. Here's some comics coming up. I was really excited for the Fire and Ice one, but DC announced that they're going to have 2 new series. Can I center that, please? Anyway, in September, we're going to get a Power Girl book by Leah Williams and artist Eduardo Pansica. And then we're also getting a book, Fire and Ice, Welcome to Smallville, from writer Joanne Starer and artist Natasha Bustos. I've spoken before about how I really like Joanne's book, The Gimmick, that's coming out right now from Ahoy Comics. The premise of it is pretty funny. Superman basically is like, they botched something or other in Baltimore, Fire and Ice do, and Superman's like, you're going to go protect Smallville because it's kind of small and out of the way. And they get into, they're trying to rebuild their reputation and their career, which I don't know, I think is actually a pretty good premise. I think that's nice. Super excited for these. Yeah, good. I'm really surprised with how much I enjoyed Leah Williams' Power Girl feature in Action Comics. And now she's getting her own ongoing for it. Power Girl movie when? Interesting idea. I wonder. Wonder if it has too much lore to it. Tom King did a hell of a job with Fire and Ice. Are you talking about how he used them in Human Target? Because he did a great job with them in Human Target. Human Target was so good. I really liked that. I really liked it a lot. I don't know if that's officially in continuity or just its own story. I really don't know. And I guess ultimately I also don't care. It was just a great story. It was really, really fun. So those are 2 books coming out that could be good. Here's a company trying something a little different. And so I'm going to give them a little bit of credit for that. Boom Studios launched a podcast, a monthly podcast. It's called Boom Direct. So you can get that through whatever you stream your podcasts through, your Spotify's or your Apple iTunes, whatever that may be. Comes out on the first Thursday of every month. So they sort of had a preview episode. And then in early April, I guess, they did their first real episode. It's going to be hosted by these 2. Marketing lead Anthony Morrow, sales lead Harley Salbaka. And it's only going to be about a 20-minute show where they interview presumably somebody that's doing a Boom Studios comic, and they're going to talk to them about the behind-the-scenes stuff about that. I always like behind-the-scenes interviews that talk with comic book creators about their process. So, I give Boom credit for trying something a little bit different. I hope it's good. I hope it works. That is a good marketing idea. I think it is. I think like the amount of lift that it takes to put that podcast together is pretty small compared to the potential footprint it can make with your audience. So I feel like every publisher should probably be doing something like this, where they're interviewing the people that make their comics. You've got access to them, So who knows? Let's see. Hold on. I was trying to highlight something. Could be really cool, but wish it was being hosted by non-marketing leads. Well, maybe, but I feel like give it a listen. I think that they have got a pretty casual vibe, and they mostly just ask the question and know to step back and let the creator talk. I didn't think that they were talking over the creator, which is a challenge. DC collected editions traditionally are slacking. That must be a conversation that's going on. Fantagraphics needs a podcast. Man, a Fantagraphics podcast sounds great because they publish a really wide variety of crazy stuff. We've got some Fantagraphics news later in this show, so we'll get there. We'll get there. I feel like 20 minutes isn't enough to really get into more than one topic. That's right. They basically interview one person, and 20 minutes is a good amount of time. And who knows? They've basically put out one episode. Maybe the others will follow suit. Maybe others will be longer. I don't know. Oh, right. If Fantagraphics did it, it should be hosted by Ed Piskor. Yeah. It's a challenge when you do interviews. Some people are going to be deep into it and want to spend as much time as they can with their favorite creator. Some people are going to be a lot more casual about it, though, and 20 to 30 minutes is plenty of time for most people. You're trying to sort of sell people on your comic, I think, with these. Even if you're talking about your process and getting into serious stuff, you're still trying to sell people that aren't necessarily already on board. It can be a tough sell to give those people more than an hour. Ask for an hour of their time. Oh yeah, I'm sure that they'll get Alan Moore the week after I do. So let's talk about what I've got in the thumbnail. IDW. This was definitely the biggest comic book news of the week, in my opinion. They massively downsized to just summarize some of the specific things they did. They did what's called going dark on the New York Stock Exchange. IDW has been a publicly traded company. They have delisted themselves from active trading. On the day that they made this announcement that they were like taking themselves off of the stock exchange and that they were laying off a bunch of staff, their stock was only at 82 cents, which isn't great, and it dropped all the way to 47 cents a share. So not worth a whole lot, unfortunately. Some of the bigger titles that they released, I don't mean titles like comics, excuse me. I mean like, job titles. Some of the bigger jobs that they released, the CEO and the CFO were both released. The one big questionable thing I saw was that the son of the principal owner is going to be the new CEO. He's a guy named Davide Jonas. I thought that was, well, that's a move. You're definitely going to get some pushback, I think, from anyone that reads that news going like, what qualifies that guy? Because it sounds kind of nepo. We'll see. The layoffs were big. 39% of their workforce. 39%. You are getting damn close to half. That includes their entire marketing and public relations staff. So there's nobody, I guess, coordinating interviews, putting out ad copy or press releases, etc. Nobody fielding questions from the press. That's not great. Half of editorial. Half of their editorial staff. And IDW does publish a lot of titles. Right now, they've got Star Trek, Ninja Turtles, I think is probably their biggest one. My Little Pony and Sonic are both well known. There are the occasional Lock and Key stories. I love Lock and Key. Lock and Key is fantastic. Godzilla is huge. I love Godzilla. I don't mean that Godzilla is physically huge, although you could argue that he is, even though he's fictional. I mean that's a big brand. And they also partner with Disney to do certain Disney and Star Wars for young adult titles. So They don't have Transformers or GI Joe anymore. They lost that at the end of the year. They primarily license stuff. I feel bad for the staff. Oh yeah, of course, Andy. You definitely know IDW. So this is interesting. He says I've drawn a lot of comics for IDW. Very sad to hear about all these layoffs. I had no idea they were even on the New York Stock Exchange. It hasn't been that long that they've been public. It might have been 2019, but that's off the top of my head. That's not from reading it recently. They seem to have a lot of troubles after Chris Ryall left as publisher. I think that they've gone through, like, I think that with this turnover, they're on to like the third publisher. Like there's been one in between Chris and now these people, but yeah, they've gone through a bunch of people as publisher. That's not good. That's not good. Oh, Star Wars kids went to Dark Horse? That's true, they did. Does that mean that they don't have any Star Wars? I forgot. Public since 2009? That sounds, I mean, it's possible, but I don't know. What are their big comics outside of licensed stuff? Lock and Key, which I mentioned before. Also, just this year, Scott Snyder did a great crime book called Wildfires. I thought that was a fantastic heist comic. It's got some people in jail that are, working as firefighters. That's a real thing. And these women decide to rob a house that's in the line of fire. Right. Yep. 30 Days of Night is creator owned. So, yeah, I think that you're putting it well. That's my thoughts too, EJ. I don't want IDW to do badly. IDW is generally listed as the 5th biggest publisher of comics. Marvel, DC, Image, Dark Horse, IDW. They're not small. Oh yeah, I think that they do Ragnarok from Walt Simonson. So yeah, they publish a few things aside from just licensed. Look, they're well known for their licensed books, but I think that a lot of people also think that they handle those well. I've heard a lot of good things about their Star Trek books. I love their Ninja Turtles run. I think it's really, really well done. Right, Steve got a point here. IDW also does board games, primarily based on their own properties that they're publishing. Usually they do those as crowdfunding campaigns, I think. So, oh, they publish Kanto. Okay, they publish Kanto. Jacob says he loves their Sonic ongoing. Yes, Kale. I also wondered that, and I looked around everywhere I could think to look. I did not see anything. Just to be clear, IDW owns Top Shelf Comics. Top Shelf publishes a lot more of that sort of indie, creator-owned stuff. Comedy, autobiographical, crime, some really interesting books. I've always appreciated Top Shelf. I don't know what the status of Top Shelf is following this sort of downsizing. All I know is that a lot of IDW employees were not expecting this. I read stories on, your comic book resources, your comics beat, your Bleeding Cool. I was reading all their takes, and they were saying that, like, some of these people had taken jobs pretty recently. There was a story of one unnamed person on their staff who had moved across the country for this job, had moved like their whole family and got a new place, and then they're laid off. I'll tell you, I moved across the country for a job. At least I had it for 3 years before they downsized, and I still found that very difficult to reestablish myself. So, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot for some of these employees to go through. I hope that they land on their feet and find jobs that appreciate them. At 39%, that is a lot of people. That is a lot of people. So I'm just saying I'm primarily sympathetic. Oh, you know what? That's another good point I'm seeing here from well, first of all, that's just a nice comment from Rocket telling Andy that his drawing is amazing, and that's totally true. I hope the IDW Artist Edition survives somehow. That is a good point. They've been putting out some fantastic oversized hardcover artist editions where you can see the original, pages. The original Bristol pages have been like scanned in, and you can really learn a lot about an artist's approach before it gets fully colored and lettered and printed. You get to see it at the actual size that it was illustrated at. They've got some great versions of that stuff. They failed to finish Transformers before losing the license. Yeah. And G.I. Joe, just to be clear, is still going. We know that the writer of that was Larry Hama. He continued his Marvel run at IDW, and he ended it on a cliffhanger, and he has said on social media that he's already written the next several issues. So wherever it's going, they might do a reboot, but they're definitely continuing that G.I. Joe run. Transformers, I wasn't following the ongoing stuff. They did do Last Bot Standing, which was a pretty definitive end to Transformers lore. I mean, EJ Sue in the chat drew that and did a pretty beautiful job. It has not been officially announced, a roguish type. I have heard from several people, nobody that's on the record, but I've heard from several people that Skybound got the Transformers and G.I. Joe license, but they haven't announced that officially yet. So I don't know. There might be something like a non-compete window that Hasbro had built into IDW's contract where they can't announce something like that for a certain window. I'm just speculating. I don't know. So, anyway, tough news for a big publisher. Hopefully they land on their feet and can reorganize. We'll move on. Here's something I thought was a really good value, so I wanted to pass it on to you guys. I don't know how many of you have purchased a Humble Bundle. It's an incredible deal as long as you're okay with digital versions of comics. You basically pay whatever you're comfortable paying. That money like a big portion of it goes to a charity that they announce, and they announce like how much of it is going to the charity and what charity it's going to. And you get a digital version of tons and tons of comics. I most recently bought the Humble Bundle for the entire run of ElfQuest. I think that like their suggested donation price was something tiny, like $45, and you got like, thousands of dollars worth of stories. But this one's pretty cool too. A lot of people know Dynamite for their books like Red Sonja and Vampirella, which I did the cover for recently. But they also do some beautiful art books. I've been picking up their art books for a while. One of the first ones I ever got was this gorgeous book they've got on the artwork from Atari. The Atari 2600 back in the 80s used to have these beautifully painted covers for the games themselves. Since the games were fairly basic, they wanted to still catch somebody's eye, and they would have these really beautiful paintings to just sort of establish the world that it was supposed to be representing. That's one that you can get with this. You get 33 of their art books for $35 is their suggested donation. Of course, you can even donate more. The charity being supported is one I really love. It's somebody that I support every year with some of my money, the Hero Initiative, and they're established to help comic book creators who have fallen on tough times and need the funds for living or medical expenses. I think it's a really good charity. I really do. They don't seem to have a lot of overhead. They have a long track record of doing good things by people. It's one of the charities I choose to support since this is an industry, in a way, you could say I'm profiting off of comics. I want to give something back to comics. Dynamite has some beautiful art books in here. Yes. Art of Jose Gonzalez, such an underrated artist. But if you look, for instance, at this very famous Vampirella cover, that's an example of Jose Gonzalez. Great, great artist. Some of the people that they've got in on this Humble bundle: George Perez, Alex Ross, one of my favorites, Sean Phillips. Loved his collaborations with Ed Brubaker. Ramona Fradon. Ramona Fradon, I'll definitely be doing an episode at some point. I do have their art book for her. It's a great look at her career. She's still drawing. She's in her 90s, folks, and she still does commissions. She had long runs on Aquaman. She co-created Metamorpho, and she still draws. She's still very talented. Anyway, a lot of great art books here. And, $35, donating it to a charity that helps, the Hero Initiative. I feel like that's a good cause worth shouting out. I mean, it's only news in the sense that these things are for a limited time. And I think this is ends sometime this week. But I thought it was good. I thought it was worth shouting out. Yeah, you should get this Humble bundle as long as you're okay with digital versions. Yes, I hope you are able to enjoy. You can also get the $1 one for a few books. Yeah, they've got versions. Just look up Humble Bundle Dynamite art book and you'll find it right away. Okay. Hope I don't sound like a dick, but I really enjoyed your recent Comic Tropes episode. Seems like you put in a lot of hard work. I see what you did there. I understood all of that. But a couple of the ones that I really like that are in this bundle: the Atari book, the Ramona Fradon book, and the Sean Phillips book. Oh, another good one. They've got the Romita Legacy, which has interviews with both John Romita Sr. and Jr. and talks about each of their respective careers. That's a pretty good one too. Hi, Tari. No reason to be sorry for being late. Appreciate you jumping in. Oh, yeah. She's got a website where you can get her commissions. They really don't cost much. Yeah, her stuff like, Wonder Woman or Captain Marvel or Mary Marvel. Like she's a great artist. I can't wait to do a book about her. Yes. You came in just as I was talking about the Atari book. We'll move on. That's plenty of plugs for them. I talked about this guy a couple times in the news before. His name is Ray Buffer. He's an actor, primarily a guy that's like an extra in TV show and movies. He's actually been in some comic book stuff. I don't know if you'll remember by just glancing at it, this is from that first Hulk movie by Ang Lee. It's where Glenn Talbot is about to try to kill the Hulk with a grenade, and of course, all it does is bounce off the Hulk and blow him up. So Ray Buffer was playing just, a security guard. I don't believe he has any lines. The reason he came up in the news was towards the end of last year, he was caught on camera at Southern California Comics stealing a bunch of comics, putting them under his shirt. And so he has finally resolved his court case. He originally pled not guilty, but got camera evidence. So he pled guilty, and he got one count of misdemeanor petty theft. What does he have to do to make this right? He's going to have to pay back the store. He has to stay away from the store, and he had to serve 1 day in jail, 1 year of probation, 12 hours of community service, and take an anti-theft course. I think that's overall fair for stealing under $1,000 worth of comic book merchandise. He has to make it right. Glad he got caught. Was it Hulk Comics? I don't remember if it said. Here's the thing. Some of the other stores in the area, we're pretty sure that he stole from them too, but they didn't have it on camera. I want to do a graphic novel about Ray Buffer's one day in jail. Yeah. We've got Harvey Picar's Our Cancer Year and Our Movie Year. You can have Ray Buffer's My Jail Day. So he got caught. He got caught. One day in jail. What does that do? I guess it just goes on your record. So that's not awesome. That's one. I've got some more comic book store news. I've got a lot tonight. So we've got that's what I would call the aperitif. Okay. And now we're gonna move on with an appetizer, a main course, and a dessert. Okay. So now we'll move on to the appetizer. Pocono Township has a comic shop that was broken into, and the police this week asked the public to help identify this man. Yes, this guy with his hoodie cinched in. If this looks familiar to you, you have amazing vision. I don't know how they're going to catch this guy. He broke into a store. This name is a weird one for a comic book store. It's called White Dragon Comics. Am I crazy, or is White Dragon like, I mean, that must be like an RPG game term, right? I thought that like the White Dragon was somebody that headed up the Ku Klux Klan. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. But anyway, this guy stole about $3,000 worth of comics. That was about 20 of their high-end books. Was Peacemaker's dad called White Dragon? I can't remember that supervillain's name. Maybe it was. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so a bunch of people are saying that it's the Peacemaker villain. That's what I'm confusing it with. Mian, thank you so much for the super chat. Let's see. Not sure if it's on the queue, but what's this news about Kevin Smith suffering from a mental breakdown? Just found out about it through a Kung Fu podcast. I didn't have that in the news, but yeah, he just opened up about his mental health and said that he like had an attack. The Klan position is the Grand Dragon. Sorry, I confused my comic books with real life. That sounds like a very Chris thing to do. That's a trope. So white. Okay, they named themselves after an obscure DC supervillain. Probably not, right? I don't know how to pronounce this, John, but yes. No, White Dragon does not equal cocaine. There is a DC supervillain powered by cocaine. His name was Snowflame. Snowflame, if I'm remembering right. This story is a little funny on one aspect, okay? So apparently this guy tried to steal a bunch of valuable either Pokemon or Magic the Gathering cards, but the whole shelf tipped and like the glass shattered, and I guess like he knew that he wouldn't have enough time to sort through the glass to get those. And then he tried to get something else. Oh, he tried to break into the cash register, but he couldn't. So, yeah, then he just grabbed a bunch of presumably slabbed comics. Anyway, if you guys live in New York and you know Pocono Township and you see some comics on the marketplace, maybe you can help catch this guy. Or maybe this guy told some friends because he's dumb. I mean, smart people don't generally break into comic book stores. Okay, there you go. So Kevin Smith's got a whole video about his breakdown over on People Magazine's YouTube channel. Good. I mean, if he's talking about it, then he must be doing okay. I hate it too, K-Bar, but all we can do is bring attention to it. Is he a burglar or a bungler? He's both. He's both. He bungled getting the full value of what he was going after, but he and presumably, even if he did break into the register, presumably the store empties it at the end of every night, right? So that was probably stupid. Now we'll get on to the main course, and then we've got our dessert. So let's see. The next one, or is this the dessert? Was that the third or the fourth? Hold on. So I had one, two. Call this the main course. We'll call this A. Has actually been involved in comics in a professional capacity for a long time, and he's going to jail for 3 years. This is Robert Wayne Dennis of Garland, Texas. And he just got sentenced to 3 years in prison for attacking police officers on the Capitol during the January 6th insurrection. The FBI got video of him fighting and hitting police officers. So, dude's going to jail. Mess around and find out. He's best known in the world of comics, though, for running what's called graphic art restoration services. He is acknowledged by many to be the best at restoring older and damaged comics. That's what he does. He also ran a comic book store briefly in the 90s in Missouri, I guess. But yeah, when the FBI came knocking at Mr. Dennis's door, he apparently told the FBI that he drove to D.C. because, quote, he was waiting for the Kraken to be released. Great guy. Great guy. Yeah, lots of Dick Coles getting mentioned today. There's Dick Cole over on Comic Tropes, and then there's this guy who you could argue is a Dick Cole. Yeah. What does pressing a comic mean? As far as I know, it could mean two different things, because you could be saying that it's going to press, it's being printed, but you could also be like flattening it, possibly even some light steam to get rid of a crease or a wrinkle. Anyway, oh, did Dr. Shoebill have a good one? Hold on. What did I miss? Oh, yeah, sorry, Dr. Shoebill, I already quoted you. Lots of Dickles in the news tonight. Let's see, $3,000, so 3 days in jail. Oh, for the other guy, yeah, he'll get 3 days in jail. Exactly. Yeah. Anyway, I just can't imagine, like, if you ask me, like, can you believe that somebody's a Republican? Of course I can. I know plenty of people that are Republicans, and some of them are great people. We just have very different philosophies for both, I don't know, all sorts of things, actually, the more I think of it. Some of it is going to be like based on finance. Some of it's going to be based on just how we treat people and use our tax dollars. But there's lots of people that are Republicans that I can definitely still get along with. But I can't really imagine driving all the way from Texas to D.C. to try to overthrow the government. That is just bonkers. And to be like what looks like a fairly mild-mannered person that works on, like, painstakingly restoring comic books. I would think you'd have an appreciation for the arts and stuff, but who knows how he was raised. I really don't know. I really don't know. Diana, lovely to have you here. How is it that a person who just before insisted one needs to respect our thin blue line ends up attacking cops? By the way, from what I read, this guy's the son of a police officer. And then they've got him on camera beating up police officers in D.C. So crazy. Just crazy to me. Just crazy. Lovely to have you here, Diana. Hope you're doing well. K-Bar says, I won't even drive 30 minutes to see my friend. Never mind 4 hours to storm a federal building. It would have been a lot longer than a 4-hour drive from Garland, Texas to D.C. A lot longer. He was waiting for the Kraken to be released as a special kind of crazy. Yeah, I think so. I think so. You know what it is? I think for most people, honestly, most people, politics are just one aspect of their life, but some people turn politics into their identity. And you could really ruin yourself by turning anything into your identity. I love talking about comics. I love reading comics. But if I turned comics into my identity, like this was all I talked about, this was all I did, I think I would become a very shallow and annoying person. So I think you can do that with politics. It's one of the fastest ways to become obnoxious and annoying, but you could do it by making anything your identity. You can be into things. That doesn't mean it has to define who you are. But when you give something the power of saying, like, that is my identity, you're going to go along and make some really weird decisions. Anyway. All right, now we'll get the dessert. I'm getting a happier one, okay? This gentleman here is somebody I would call a hero. Okay, I would. He's the owner of Time Tunnel Comics in Hickory, North Carolina. And the police listed him in their official police report as the person who subdued a rape suspect. Yes, this gentleman's name is Jacob Edwards. He was locking up his store recently when he saw a fellow store owner, somebody that runs a coffee shop, like banging on his door, like run there, and was like banging on his door. And he's like, opens it up. He's like, what's going on? And she's like, there's somebody being assaulted in the parking lot, or like at the store, like about 3 stores down. It's like a strip mall, right? And he ran out with a friend, and there was a 22-year-old man attempting to R-word a woman there. Well, Jacob put that guy in a headlock, sort of choked him out, brought him to the ground. He goes, I'm a man of like larger heft or something like that is how he described himself. And so he just sat on the guy and that guy was not moving anywhere until the police got there. So he helped arrest an assault suspect. It is still a suspect until he's proven guilty. But I think he did a very good thing there. You don't know if that guy could have had a knife or a gun, etc. You know, is it the right thing to do? Absolutely. Is it something that everybody's going to do? No way. No way. He stepped up. He stepped up. And I think he did a good thing there. He did the right thing. And, you know, he's got tattoos here for, I'm pretty sure that this is Kevin Eastman signed Ninja Turtle. He's got Action Comics. So, you know, it's not just Marvel and DC. He respects indie stuff. He's got Conan the Librarian, so he's got a sense of humor. I don't know him, but I'm inclined to like the guy. I'm inclined to like the guy. I thought that as far as the comic store owner stories of the week go, this was the one I wanted to close on because it was more positive. He stopped the guy. He stopped the guy. So, that's awesome. Cheers to this hero. I am completely obsessed. Who did the Conan art on his shirt? I don't know. I bet if we Googled it with the words t-shirt, we might be able to find it. What an absolutely based comic shop owner. I hope he gets some more business. I hope that this gives him more business. Good dude. Good dude. Yep. A lot of people don't step up, but he did. Yeah. Absolutely a hero. I think so. Love it. Oh, okay. I like when, and the consequences weighed upon him. So kind of a, look, is it like completely feel good? No, somebody was being assaulted, but it was stopped and the guy got arrested and this guy didn't get hurt. So I like it. I like it. He looks like Bam Bam Bigelow if he were still alive. Maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit. I'm in Charlotte. Well, maybe you'll want to stop by Time Tunnel. And if you see this guy, like, thank him for what he did. Hopefully this guy gets some positive attention from something like this. Maybe he doesn't want it, but hopefully he at least gets some business out of getting in the news in a way he did not intend to, but he did the right thing. In my opinion, from what I know, I mean, I look, I love the Ninja Turtles. If somebody's, you know, ready to put that ink on their skin for all time, I'm like, how bad could they be? I don't know. How bad could they be? Okay. Belle Evans says just bought the t-shirt. I may have just Hold a bunch of this t-shirt. Dude is a fan of Reading Rainbow. Everybody's a fan of Reading Rainbow. I found the art for Conan the Librarian graphic on his shirt. Does it say who the artist is, Bowser the Bun? Oh, Bowser the Bun from Harry Partridge's chats. Lovely to have you here. Real life Casey Jones. Look at that. He asked himself, what would Leonardo do? I would have said, what would Donatello do? But sure, we'll go with Leonardo for this because you got there first, Beowulf. Anyway, I'll move on. I've got a bunch more news, but I did want to give that guy some credit. This one surprised me. We'll go back to a little Marvel news for a minute. I thought that when they got Charlie Cox back, that we were still doing a thing like the Netflix Daredevil is part of the multiverse. That's what I was thinking. But a new report says, no, the MCU might be about to canonize like the Defenders stuff on Netflix. Marvel Scoopster, can we get some toast? Said on Twitter that the Echo show will have something that will point to Daredevil, like, you know, a major plot point from Daredevil season 1, or actually several seasons apparently, from the Netflix run being canon. Okay. This was backed up by the direct. One thing we do know is that Charlie Cox, Vincent D'Onofrio, and John Bernthal are all confirmed to return. But I thought that they were redoing it. Maybe not. It might be that like all that stuff is canon after all. I was surprised. Totally agree with you there. Vincent D'Onofrio is that was great casting, but I also like the others. There's still no new. Yeah. Look, I think that if they wanted to, they could definitely like, you know, redo that. But overall, I actually really liked the Daredevil series. It was the strongest of the 5 shows that were on there. I'd be okay with that being canon. I also think that the actors that they got for Luke Cage and Jessica Jones were also very, very good. Sounds like a revamp and not a redo. It'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting. Collider posted today about the fact that Lorenzo di Bonaventura discussed that another G.I. Joe movie is still being discussed, planned. I heard that they were hoping to get Michael Keaton for that. I feel like age-wise, he'd be too old for somebody like Hawk, but I wonder if they would use him as like, say, Cobra Commander or somebody else like General Flag or Joe Colton. I wonder. I don't know. I thought the first season of Jessica Jones was really good, but hard to make that tone fit into the MCU at large. Maybe. I kind of agree, though, that like season 1 of Jessica Jones, I also liked quite a bit. And season 2 and 3, I didn't really get that into. Misty Knight and Colleen Wing were so good that like I just kept going like, you know, they're filling like, what was it, like 13 episode seasons with these characters. It was like too much real estate for the story. I go, can you just give me an 8 episode Heroes for Hire show? Put Luke Cage and Iron Fist and Misty Knight and Colleen Wing in one show and give me 8 episodes, and that I would be like, check. I'm on board. I'm on board. I agree. Yes. What was it? Deborah Ann Woll played Karen Page, and Henson Holden. I can't remember the guy that played Foggy, but he did a great job. Heroes for Hire. Yeah. I mean, if you want to do just Daughters of the Dragon, that's okay too. But use those actors. Give me Heroes for Hire. Only do 8 episodes instead of 13 for like all of them. And I thought that would have been great. I don't know. Hey, okay, it's close. I was having trouble. Eldon Henson. Thank you. Eldon Henson did a very good job. Well, we shall see what happens. We shall see what happens. But the indications are that the Netflix shows are canon. And if I'm going to talk about Marvel again, I'll talk about DC a little bit again. So Zack Snyder, recently, very recently, what, as of yesterday? No, 2 days ago, ended a 3-day convention about himself. that's overstating it. He hosted something called Full Circle, which was each day he showed one of his DC movies, Man of Steel, Batman versus Superman, Justice League. And then he did a Q&A. And he did this at I forget the name of the university, but it's where he studied. He revealed a couple things that he had intended within his DCEU that, in my opinion, fortunately didn't get to the screen. One thing is he apparently intended the Greek gods from Wonder Woman's mythology to actually be Kryptonians. And he said that it would have revealed that the Amazons are powerful because they have some Kryptonian heritage, and that it was Ares specifically who brought down the original Kryptonian scout ship that was found under the ice. He also said that he intended to reveal that Batman had lost Robin. He was either blown up or burned alive, and it would have been Dick Grayson, not Jason Todd. He said he wanted to have killed off Dick Grayson, and I can believe that, since what was it? Was it Batman versus Superman where he killed off Jimmy Olsen? So yeah, those were some of Zack's ideas that apparently Warner Brothers was like, no, we're not going to let you go to do that one. He might have loved supreme power. Maybe. This is why it's time to relaunch the DC line. I don't think those are great ideas. I don't generally love his writing, but I don't think he's a bad director. I think he has made some quite good movies. I think his Dawn of the Dead remake was really strong. I thought 300 was pretty entertaining and done in a unique way. But when he started writing some of his own stuff, like whatever that one was with all the girls in like the fantasy land that's in all of their heads, they were all in like Lolita type dresses and stuff. I didn't love that. I didn't like that. I didn't really like his take on DC stuff. I know a lot of people do, and that's fine. I didn't love it. It never quite. He didn't do a bad job with casting the roles, but I thought that his Superman was too what's the words that I would be using? I can't think of a specific word. I'll just describe it. I didn't think his Superman was quite selfless enough. I think it's really important to have Superman be overall a fairly happy person that wants to make the world a better place. He isn't just like, oh, this obligation behind me. You know, he wants to do the right thing because he grew up a happy life. And he's a happy and selfless person. I like that. It's interesting to think of Superman as being tortured, and you can tell stories like that, but I think I prefer my Superman to be a little more optimistic. Because in both Man of Steel and then Batman versus Superman, he has each of his parents tell him, like, you don't owe the world anything. And I'm like, I don't know that I agree with that philosophy. I don't know. A lot of people liked it, and he is good in terms of like his visuals are pretty strong, especially when he has the time to execute them the way he wanted to do. I would say that the Zack Snyder's Justice League is far superior overall to the Joss Whedon version. It was far superior. It did have more character depth for characters like Cyborg. They were way more interesting. So he's not bad. It was just kind of dark, just too dark for me, for Superman specifically. But anyway, so he had that get together and did a Q&A and revealed some of those things. Did you guys know that there's a DC Comics restaurant? There is. There's a DC Comics restaurant in London on Park Row. This is a little screenshot of it. Well, you may have heard, but England has this whole king and queen thing going on, and they've got a coronation coming up. King Charles III and Queen Camilla. So the DC Comics restaurant came up with this, a themed menu, and I thought we'd look it over. So they call it Park Row Royalty. We've got cocktails like the Clown Prince, which is a gin and cucumber based drink. We've got Dark Knight, which is bourbon and cherry liqueur. We've got Princess of Paradise, Pimm's. I forget what Pimm's are right now. Oh, it has akavit. That's not my favorite. That's something they love in Sweden, though. We've got King of the Seven Seas, which is again a gin-based drink with lemon and something called Blue Magic. I don't know what that is, but I'd try that. That sounds good to me. As far as food, we've got Kandaki fried chicken. Okay. The Batarang. What's the Batarang? Mushroom parfait, burnt apple and onion ketchup, sourdough toast. That probably does sound like something that Batman would have. More like something that Alfred would prepare for Master Wayne. My favorite DC character is pulled pork taco whiz. But what would you come up with for a food on that? What would you come up with food for that? What else do we have here? We have... Oh, I totally missed that. You guys got ahead of me. Oh my God. Pulled pork taco whiz? What? What? What does that have to do with anything? And why would you even have Cheese Whiz on pulled pork tacos? That sounds disgusting to me. That sounds so cheap. Oh yeah, I'm sure the king would really love it if you put some Cheese Whiz all over his pork. Well, we've got the Big Belly Burger, and hey, that makes sense. They call it Wayne Estate beef. Sure, he owns cows now. Big Belly Burger is the in-canon fast food restaurant of the DC universe, so that makes sense. That makes sense. We've got Joker's Grin, which is beetroot gnocchi, salmon, mint courgettes, some curry, and some lime leaf. You know what? That's interesting. That's interesting. Joker's Grin. Beetroot gnocchi I'd like to try. And we've got Mother Nature. A miso aubergine, watermelon, Asian salad. Okay, fair enough. Wait a minute. But folks, help me out here. What is pulled pork taco whiz? What is that one referring to? What is that referring to? Oh, that is such a deep pull. Wonder Woman worked at Taco Whiz. Oh, that's right. That was in the era that was written by William Messner Loebs, right? William Messner Loebs had Wonder Woman get a job in Boston. Oh my God. Mandela, thank you for helping me out with that deep pull. That is still disgusting. I just took a pulled pork taco whiz. Did I miss anything? That's pretty darn good. That's pretty darn good. Oh my God. Mandela, thank you for the reminder. I had totally forgotten that Wonder Woman worked at a fast food restaurant, and I was just thinking of like Whiz as like a Shazam reference or something. Wow. But even then, like to actually put Cheese Whiz on the tacos just sounds so cheap and tacky for any restaurant. It just doesn't it sounds like something a bar might do, but it doesn't sound like something a restaurant would do. Good Lord. Yeah, I'm sure King Charles and Queen Camilla, they're going to be coming down in their carriage afterwards, waving to the plebes, going like, yes, yes, pledge fealty to me. I am your king. And oh dear, let's get a meal at this fine establishment. And oh, I don't know what Cheese Whiz is, but I love a good Munster cheese. I love a good brie. Sure, let us try this pulled pork taco with. Just awful. Just crazy. This is a restaurant for pro monarchy and DC fans. You kind of cut part of your potential costumes. Yeah, yeah. Apparently, Charles has asked everyone in England to recite a pledge, pledging that they will always be loyal to him and his children and their children. And it's like, yeah, good luck enforcing that, buddy. You have no power. No, nobody made a Planet Krypton reference. Yeah, just getting some sort of a cheese on a pulled pork sandwich is not a bad idea. Cheese Whiz specifically sounds gross to me. I do not like that idea. Nope. It's high dollar pretending to be low dollar. I think it's low dollar food charging for high dollar, but we'll see. Here's something worth. I always loved What If. I thought that they were generally pretty fun because you could just sort of do anything in them, so they could go in some bizarre directions. They're rebranding it, calling it What If Dark, which I do think is a bit of a weird brand initiative, just because most What If stories are already dark. I don't think you need to brand them dark, but whatever. So some new branding here. Marvel has announced some of the ideas that they will have for these one-shot comics that will be coming out in July. For instance, what if Dark Venom will be what if Ben Grimm bonded with the symbiote instead of Peter Parker? There's a what if Dark Moon Knight, and that one has Moon Knight actually killed by Bushman. Probably, now that I think of it, like they probably even mean Mark Spector killed by Bushman and like maybe not revived. Anyway, it says a different god empowers a new champion, Luminary. I don't know. But this one, I love that they got Walt Simonson to do the cover. He's not doing the interiors. But what if Dark Loki will have Loki successfully taking over Asgard? I like this cover. That's good. Could be fun. I'm tired of dark stories. What if Light? Peter Parker had a happy, balanced, fruitful life. That could be fun. Why not do a funny version of it? They also do have a Spider-Man one. No, excuse me. It's called Spider-Gwen, and it involves the Green Goblin killing Peter Parker, Spider-Man, instead of Gwen Stacy on that fateful night. What if you put Cheese Whiz on a pulled pork sandwich? That, yeah, that is pretty dark. That is pretty dark. Walt is writing that what if. That's awesome. That's awesome. Then that's the one I will get. That is the one I will get because I love Walt Simonson. I sincerely do. His Thor is rightfully remembered as like one of the all-time best runs Thor had, but he also had, in my opinion, a really fun, cool run on Fantastic Four that I think is overlooked. Whew, my shoulder is really starting to hurt. I can hang in there for another 30 minutes. I've heard that Nigeria has a decent comic book community. I think that they do try to copy what seems to be popular in America, but doesn't mean that they do it badly necessarily. I don't know. But one of their comic companies has agreed to a deal with a Universal Studios company. I think that they're called UCP, and they've partnered with the Nigerian-based Comic Republic. That's the name of like the publisher, to adapt their online comics. They've got an online superhero universe called Vanguards. Here's the premise, because you very likely have not read these comics. But members of the first race, humanity's self-proclaimed gods, reunite to punish the people of Lagos for their sins of the Guardian. Those who have decided to be heroes and protectors are forced to become humankind's first line of defense, to serve and to protect, to be vanguards. Well, good for them. Good for them. Don't think we've got any princes in this one. Don't think we've got any princes. Vanguard was an 80s, 90s comic character and a comic. Yes, Eric Larson. This has nothing to do with that, just to be clear. You guys are still hung up on the menu. That's fair. That's fair. I thought it was worth mentioning. We will see if anything comes of it. I don't know. For Universal Studios to partner with them, they must have seen some value in what they've created, because I don't think that the brand itself has like a lot of name recognition. So who knows? Yes, most Nigerian comics have an inspiration from US comics, and you pronounced Lagos wrong. Sorry, I haven't been to Nigeria. I did guess. I could probably find it on a map, but yeah, I don't know how to pronounce it. You're right. Sorry, Tari. You got me. You got me. If the shows are made, I'm sure that they would be streamed in Nigeria, but my belief is that they're trying to make this for like an international audience. We will see. I figured I had a 50-50 chance, and I got it wrong the first time, but got it right the second. There's not going to be any copyright issues. You could argue trademark, but even then, I'm pretty sure that Vanguard and Vanguards are literally different enough. I don't think it's going to be an issue. I really don't think so. I guess, like, Eric Larson could try to step in and shut it down. I don't think he'd care enough to do that. I don't know. Yeah, I've heard that Nigeria has a good-sized film industry. That's interesting. Lagos is a pretty big city from my understanding. We'll see what happens with that. I said that there would be Fantagraphics news tonight, and this is what I was talking about. An interesting collaboration here. Marvel is teaming up with Fantagraphics to reprint their 1950s stuff, their 1950s material when Marvel was known as Atlas. They started as Timely, created characters like Captain America, Human Torch, Namor. Pretty sure that was still the era where they created like Millie the Model and Patsy Walker. In the 1950s specifically, they tried to get into more horror and sci-fi. Some of the more memorable stuff from that era might include Groot, just because it came back. That was something Jack Kirby created for just a one-off story, and some other monsters like that. So that they definitely expanded into a bunch of other genres. The 1950s, basically just before the Comics Code shut everything down and changed everything, Marvel, or at that time, no, Atlas, was doing horror. They were doing Western, romance, war, and funny animals. So they were doing all those genres. Not a lot of superhero stuff. They were doing a little Captain America, which, yeah, it's pretty forgotten now. He was going up against communists, and they've retconned it to say that was actually a different Captain America. Anyway, so yeah, they're going to be doing things, two different things. They're going to be doing sort of like the various genres. They'll put a bunch of those together into a hardcover book, and certain artists they'll do books about. So future editions, aside from this Adventures into Terror, they've announced a Joe Maneely book and a Bill Everett book. Bill Everett created Submariner, co-created Daredevil. You know, he had his era. Joe Maneely, good artist for his time. Some of this stuff, like Adventures into Terror, will have artwork by people that were so good for their time, like Basil Wolverton. This book is going to come out in October. Good timing, Halloween. But they're aiming to do 5 hardcover books a year of Marvel's 1950s material. So, yeah. When am I going to do an episode on the Comics Code Authority? I guess I could. I've definitely talked about it quite a bit within certain other episodes. I could do like a dedicated episode at some point. I don't know. But I'd be interested in reading some of this stuff. A lot of the Atlas stuff, the Atlas era of Marvel, is probably the era of Marvel I know the least about, realistically. Yeah, the 1950s is probably what I know the least about from Marvel. Yeah, forgot how good Basil's work was. Definitely good. Sounds terrifyingly good. I hope so. It's interesting that Marvel is licensing this out instead of doing it themselves. Fantagraphics is really good at reprints. They have a team that will scan the original comics and do nice touch-ups. They've done it for Disney books. They've done it for a lot of comic strips, things like, you know, Popeye and Mickey Mouse and all sorts of stuff. So Fantagraphics has a really good department for doing high-end reprints. It's like when you're going to put out a Blu-ray by, say, a Criterion Collection Blu-ray. You know, Criterion does a great job cleaning up the movie. Fantagraphics is kind of like that for reprints. So I think that this collaboration makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I think I'm super likely to buy it, Steve. When I've got the Fantagraphics store here up in Seattle. It's very close to me. It's small, but it's a really cool store. So I probably will get it like there. Ah, cool. A super chat. Great show, Chris. Looking forward to seeing what you picked up this week. I picked up the first issue of World Tree. Curious if you've read it. I didn't, and then I've been hearing a lot of good things, so I probably will. But I did not get it yet. Right, yeah. Touch-ups meaning no terrible digital recoloring. So yeah, they're not just taking the original colors and then like putting them on white paper so that it looks like blindingly bright. No, this is the way to do a reprint. You get a scan and the color of the paper that, like, you know, influences the colors that you've laid on it is part of that whole presentation. And Fantagraphics is very loyal to that. World Tree is a brand new comic from Image. I didn't pick it up, but maybe next week I can talk about it. Yeah, I got one of Fantagraphics' Donald Duck books recently because they were on sale, so I picked one up over there. It's cool. Got 2 more pieces of news, and then I want to talk about some comics of the week before we wrap things up. So there was a big article this week about manga freelancers talking about pay and how the pay isn't that great. This came from Publishers Weekly, and they interviewed people like letterers and translators. We're talking about the Western released stuff, you know, the companies like Viz and Tokyo Pop and Seven Seas, the people that release manga here and provide jobs for us here in the West. Apparently, letterers are getting paid as little as $1 a page, and that is kind of offensively small, in my opinion, because they have some tricky work to do there where you don't want to cover up the existing artwork. So you've got to be very careful with where you're placing and how you're shaping these words and stuff. And also manga does a lot of stuff where they'll have like people's thoughts outside of balloons. There's a lot of work that goes into that. There was an anonymous translator that went by the name M for Publishers Weekly, saying things like, quote, "Some manga series move a few hundred copies, others millions, but I get paid the same for both." They also talk, for instance, about how there was a boom and bust cycle for manga around 2007, 2008. Manga has been growing since then again for quite a while, but the rates have stayed the same. When you add the fact that there's every year there's going to be inflation, so the value of a dollar is getting smaller every year, that means that, like, fundamentally you're sort of paying these people a little bit less every year if you're keeping the wages the same. One interesting thing that happened, this logo at the top, is there was a union formed at 7Seas. And translation rates did go up from some of those efforts at the two biggest publishers. They don't list those, but I'm assuming that they mean Viz and Tokyopop. Those rates went up by about 10 to 20%. And there's an interesting quote here from Kay Winters, a marketing lead at Tokyopop. She said, "Quality comes at a cost. I understand why there's a lot of interest in machine translation as the technology progresses. But I think we'd all agree it's got a long way to go. If you've ever run a Japanese book description through Google Translate, it's a coin toss whether it'll even be understandable." But she did continue to go on and say, like, oh, we'd still be interested. Yeah. Yeah, $1 a page. $1 a page. $50 a page? I don't know if it necessarily is something that would take that long, but I think that would be way more fair. Way more fair. Thank you, Francisco. Thank you for the super chat. Nice to have you here. That's really kind of you. Sounds like American publishers could poach them all easily while teaching them English. Teaching them? I mean, these are people that do speak English. I absolutely agree. I think that AI translation is really, really far away. You can get the gist of it, which can help you when you're traveling. If you're using an app, you can get the gist of some things. But that would be a poor reading experience to put it through a translation program. There are nuances to every language. You are going to lose meaning. Even if you get the exact translation technically correct, you are still going to lose meaning sometimes because there would be cultural references or jokes, things like that need to be thought through for a different audience. A good translator definitely improves things like that. Machine translation won't work for real art. Like, you wouldn't run a novel through Google Translate and call it a day. No, but there are people that want to do that. You thought that oh yeah, no, they're not Japanese letters. We're talking about American employees. Well, employees making American versions. But yeah, Jojo has a good point, like talking about localization. Anyway, yeah, so it sounds like even though manga is selling like better than everything else, you're going to have some issues here if the people putting it out aren't getting paid right, because at a certain point it stops being a competitive job. People are like, well, wait a minute, I love manga, but if I'm going to get paid like $1 a page, maybe I have no real interest in doing that. We'll see. Last thing I want to talk about is, it's not quite a book banning, but it's not great. This is an actual image I found from a video at a library in Indiana, where they have removed the comics and manga from the teen section. The Hamilton East Public Library specifically, they have a board of directors who ordered a $300,000 review of all the comics and manga, the stuff that's in the teen section. Also some of their fictional books and things like that. $300,000. Why are they doing this? I don't have that in my bullet points. Here's why. Indiana passed a bill that would equate the punishment for putting something that's age inappropriate in a kid's hands with the same penalties as basically selling them pornography if it's just found to be age inappropriate. They're opening themselves up to lawsuits, and so the library's spending a massive amount on this to try to make sure that nothing objectionable ends up in the teen section. Does not necessarily mean the library would be getting rid of it. They might just move it to the adult section. But boy, do I think that they're going hardcore overboard. Gone from the teen section are books on puberty, Captain America comics, Marvel's Avengers graphic novels, and books like Judy Blume's novel of teen love and sexuality forever. I thought we all read Judy Blume when we were growing up. Anyway, a spokesperson said that the Captain America books were added back, that those were removed in error. So great. Apparently there's nothing objectionable about Captain America. But in the meantime, if you were like a teenage kid and you were looking to read something and you don't have a lot of free money, you know, I loved going to the library growing up. I still love what the library represents. Those are some slim pickings there on this shelf. And there were a couple shelves, but they all look the same. They all look the same. Joe, lovely to have you here. I'm surviving. I'm surviving. You would review the books for a cool 150,000. Well, would you if you were on the line for something objectionable got through and you could go to jail? Indiana native here. Sorry for all the racism and book banning, everyone. You know, books like about things like puberty and sexuality were so important to me, like growing up, so that like I was just exposed to different viewpoints. It's just crazy. John, thank you so much. Longtime subscriber who was pulling for your health battle and who was enriched by your content. I feel confident I speak for troopers out there. We love you, sir. Fight the good fight. Thank you. Thank you. Once this is over, I plan on taking a muscle relaxer, an opioid, 500 milligrams of naproxen, and 500 milligrams of acetaminophen, and washing it all down with vodka. No, I'm not going to have the vodka. I'm kidding. We'll see. Just joking around. YouTube doesn't like it when I do that. There was a Conan O'Brien skit, Come to Indiana and See Rito, the boy who can read. I'm just getting so frustrated. I'm not necessarily mad at the library in this case. So let me make that clear. They're trying to cover their butts against lawsuits. It sucks that they have to spend that much of taxpayer money reviewing these books to see what section it's safe to put them in. Because that's money that could go to after school programs or to books of all kinds. Everybody benefits from books, but like, you know, it could be self-help books. It could be comics for people that like can't afford to buy everything that they want. There's so many good things. There's so many good books out there. So, you know, it's frustrating that these bills are getting passed where they're like, you're going to put a book about puberty in front of my kid? He's only 15 years old. You know, I don't want him exposed to that. And that parent has the power to get people, you know, penalized, like go to jail or pay huge fees. Like, these are crazy laws. These are crazy laws. Don't worry, Steve. I would never mix these drugs with alcohol. I was making a joke because it was such a bad idea. Yeah, you can bet all these politicians aren't increasing library funding either. You know, even if you don't physically go to your library, I recommend getting a library card. It is amazing how many online programs there are right now where you can download not just books, but like comics, manga, access to certain like online encyclopedias. Having that library card is really, really valuable. I recommend to everybody watching here, if you haven't, make a point of like, you know, this month, going to your library and just getting that library card. Once you have that, like you can access so many different online sources that partner with like libraries to give you access to these books. You're like, well, you know, like I don't. It's better, in my opinion, than illegally. What do you call it? Just going to these websites where comics have been scanned in and stuff. I've got a lot of pushback from certain viewers, but I think stealing is stealing, and that you can get most of this stuff legally if you're just willing to get like a library card. Most of it you can, and a little patience sometimes, because it's not all going to come out right away. Yeah, you can get video games, you can get movies. It's amazing how much you can get, because usually they partner like with all the libraries in the area. So like, yeah, thank you so much for saying something positive like this. The Hoopla app is so good. So good. I love it. The most recent thing I read from Hoopla was that Cliff Chiang Catwoman book. So that was awesome. And then those taxes that buy that mean that they go to the publishers, and the creators are actually getting paid. So that's nice. That's nice. Yeah, video games are absolutely at libraries. They put a lot of stuff that the public actually wants. Right. They usually offer museum passes and things like that. Some of them will have, if you've got your library card, sometimes that gives you like a pass to like local national parks. Some of them will give you like, with your free library card, you can go to like museums. You've paid for this already with your taxes. You should take advantage of these things and spread the word. Art of Saw says, I discovered Uzumaki at my local library. Changed my life. Uzumaki is a fantastic Junji Ito manga. It's so scary and cool. And that's awesome that you got to discover something like that there. I'm getting nerdy and excited. I'm just saying that, like, I think you might be surprised at how much you can get in this digital age with your library card if you haven't gone to the library lately. There are a lot of modern comics, including manga, in libraries these days. I'll borrow something to try it and then go buy it if I like it. That's the way to do it. I read 150 issues of Teen Titans over 3 months on Hoopla for free. For free. So, just something to think about. Something to think about. I'm going to turn on this light, get rid of this, add this, change it up. Let's talk briefly about some of the comics that came out this week. And I mentioned this at the top of the show. This would be my pick of the week. And I was not necessarily expecting it to be, because, you know, talking about jazz in comics could have been a very dry experience. It could have just been like, here are some facts about things. No, this has real characters, a real believable setting. It's New Orleans, 1917. And this teenager, Charles, really wants to be a jazz player like his late father was. And he listens to the music downtown, and he wants to play with a guy that he thinks is incredibly talented. And he is incredibly talented, but he isn't a great person. He's the kind of guy that, like, you know, will set you up on a gig, but be taking the money, or set you up on a gig and then bail halfway through because he's got a better gig lined up. So it's a coming of age story. It's talking about the different ways different jazz musicians play. You know, some of them are trying to put together the perfect set. Some of them are able to play by ear. How do you learn? It's got lots of different aspects of that. It's got lots of different family dynamics for Charles, living with his grandmother instead of like a mom and a dad. It's folks, it was really entertaining. I flew through this book. I know it doesn't necessarily sound like the kind of thing that would be for everybody, but this book was really interesting. Yeah, the colors, Kevin Street points out, like have a late night feel. They really do. They're using a lot of cool colors, greens, purples, blues. All I can say is New Orleans and jazz can both be things that you can kind of just get wrong. And as somebody that lived in New Orleans for several years, I came to have an appreciation for both the city and its music and its food. And I want to see it done justice. And I really felt like this one was. Co-written by Kyle Higgins and Joe Clark, artwork by Danilo Beyruth. Really, really recommend it. That was my pick of the week. But there is still some other really good stuff. But this is something, and it's thick too. I mean, it's a pretty thick book. But I do recommend it. Sweet cover. Yes, it is. What else? This book looks awesome. It is. It's in a soundless medium. I know, but it's still interesting. It works. A jazz playlist. That would be a good idea, actually. That's the kind of thing Kyle would probably do. Like he did. Kyle, if you end up listening to this at all, how about a playlist? You know what? What am I thinking? When I listened to this, you know what I did? I went to YouTube and pulled up the earliest jazz stuff that I could listen to. And some of it was more from, like, say, the 1940s, like Kiss Me Once Again, you know? But it still put me in the mindset. That's something I did without, and I don't always listen to music when I read books, but I pulled up a jazz playlist and just listened to the oldest jazz I could while I read this. I liked it. I picked up another volume of Slam Dunk, folks, from 90 to 96. Takahiko Inoue did this manga about high school basketball, and I fly through these tankobon. They're like $10, but I finished them in like 30 minutes because, boy, does it move at a fast pace. This book has most of the second half game. So it moves fast. And I've never really been into basketball. This lets you know everything you need to know. And you are just like right there with the main characters, wanting to see them fight for every point to come from behind and, you know, be able to win. It can be funny every once in a while, but it is so fast paced. This is just one of the fastest paced comics I've ever read. I love it. I recommend it. Ooh, I didn't know about that. A couple people mentioning to me that there's a Slam Dunk movie, animated or live action. Either way, very interested. I've been reading The Ambassadors. It's not that I absolutely love the story, but each issue is drawn by a different top-tier talent. This is drawn by Travis Charest. Now, we have not seen Travis Charest do a monthly comic since, what, like the early 2000s, like Wildcats? What an interesting artist whose art originally looked, when he was doing Dark Stars, it looked like bad Jim Lee in the 90s. No offense, but it did. And then he just went through this renaissance, and his artwork just looked so much more European and detailed. And it's made another evolution. I think I still sort of prefer his Wildcats era the most, but he's got some really great storytelling skills in terms of his layouts and how he utilizes negative space, and a lot of detail, a lot of personality to his characters, a lot of definition to his environments. It's interesting stuff. If you have not been exposed to Travis Charest, this isn't necessarily where I'd recommend starting, but I certainly would not recommend it. I mean, he just has something unique, just something unique. Really, really strongly recommend it. This one specifically involves a single mom and her son that's getting picked on, and they get chosen to be the superheroes of France. And there's a little more to it than that, but it's good and it's clever. Yeah, new Travis. I didn't know Charest did issue 3. First 2 were good. Quitely is obviously a highlight. Absolutely. And Quitely is probably still my personal favorite out of the three, but it's always a treat to get to see some Travis Charest. It really is. Yeah, I don't know how he's putting out so many right now. Ninja Funk has QR codes that will play a soundtrack. That's a good idea. That's really cool. That makes sense too. I think I'm done with Vanish. I've talked before. I like Donny Cates. I do. This book is sort of going at a kind of a slow pace, and I don't feel like the main character is very prominent within it for some reason. The premise is almost something like, you know, a kid that's almost like Harry Potter and goes to like a school for teaching wizards and stuff. Essentially shot when he was a teenager. He shot and killed the big bad. And now as an adult, the big bad's followers are all pretending to be superheroes, but he knows the truth, and he's got this failing marriage and stuff, and he's got addiction issues. And I can't help but feel like there's something about what could be going on in Donny Cates's personal life that's bleeding through into this a little too much. Now, I might just be reading too much into that, and he might tell me, like, Chris, that's absolutely off base. And that's fair, but art is how you individually interpret it, and that's the vibe I'm sort of getting out of this. I just don't feel like it's going anywhere fast enough. Like, the main character is just sort of like, he's not proactively doing anything. He's just surviving. Let's see. There's only 2 more issues this arc, so I'll finish it up to 8, but it's starting to lose me too. Still have faith that Cates can turn it around. That's great, because he has written some really nice stuff. I feel bad sometimes. I'm like, is it me? But I've been sort of feeling like that the last couple issues, and I read this one, and I was just like, you know what? I think I'm going to bail here. If people tell me it turns around and it becomes amazing, I'll pick it up as a trade paperback and read it all at once. This is just its own thing. It is not a tie-in to anything. This is still a surprisingly good book, folks. Riddler Year One is written by Paul Dano, the actor who played the Riddler in the Batman movie, The Batman. And he had a backstory that he wrote as a comic book script to explain to himself who the Riddler was and how he came to be the way he is. And I'll tell you something. It is surprisingly deep, detailed, and nuanced. I am really impressed with this story. It's dark, but it really explains how somebody could come to be the Riddler. You know, in broad strokes, you'd be like, okay, he was raised, you know, in an orphanage, and that's kind of an abusive environment. And you could just say, that's enough. We get it from there. But this goes into the details of what he actually goes through, and how he knows that he's a smart person, but he's having trouble making opportunities there. He's a very shy person. He's very, very likely somewhere on the autistic spectrum. And you see that he has good intentions. That's what makes this scariest and most tragic, is you can see that this person, Edward Nashton, intends to use his intelligence to make the world a better place, and how he but he makes certain mistakes that carry him down a bad path. It's really tragic. It's really tragic. I recommend this. I would never have expected the actor who played the role to have, you know, a really good take on the material for a comic book version. You know, I go, okay, he built it, you know, in his own head who his character is, and that informed his performance. That's a beautiful thing when you can get a beautiful performance and learn that that was part of the craft. But his story is surprisingly detailed. And this one specifically is a bit of a flashback. It primarily focuses on Edward's days in the foster system. It's creepy. It's really, and it really makes Gotham a scary place, not in terms of like there's a threat at every corner, but you feel the corruption, and you feel that like it would just take a few people in positions of power to make some good choices to turn Gotham around, because it's not all bad, but that there's corruption, and that corruption keeps ruining things. It's surprising. So I've been enjoying Last Ronin, The Lost Years, not as much as I enjoyed the original Last Ronin. In fact, I'll say this. This is a sort of a two-part story, okay? Flash between two things. There are stories of the last Ninja Turtle and what his journey was to get ready to come back to society and for the last Ronin, okay? Like, you know, his training and his overcoming certain like lower level bad guys. And it is interesting. It's good. The stuff I like a little bit more is in what we would call the present day, which, just to be clear, is still the future. There's a new generation of 4 new mutant turtles, and they're not even teenagers yet. They're really young, and they're being raised by April O'Neil and April's daughter, Casey Marie. Casey Marie is more the person that has the training as you know, a ninja, and she helps them with that. But April fills the Splinter role in that, like, she's older. She went through a lot of adventures with the turtles, and she learned lessons from there on like what teamwork can do and the mistakes that you can make in training and stuff. And these 4 are all very different personality wise, but they're very charming. They're very charming. They have created 4 very good new characters, and I would like to see more of this. The journey that the last Ninja Turtle goes through is interesting. It's good if you already like Ninja Turtles and you like The Last Ronin. But we kind of already know where they end up. So it's not tons of surprises, not tons of surprises. Let's see. The Riddler really feels like Stevan Subic is doing his version of Sienkiewicz's Elektra. I could see a little bit of that. There's some very interesting art here. Very interesting ideas. I wonder if Dano will end up writing more comics. I'll tell you something. If they're as good as this, he should definitely do more writing. He'd have to be passionate about it, wouldn't he, Andy? Because presumably he earns a lot more with his time as an actor, which makes me feel like the fact that we're getting this and that it's so good is good for us. Hopefully this does, you know, that it catches him and he's like, yes, I love this medium. I want to do more. I hope he does. I hope he does. I picked up the first issue of the Dawn of DC Green Arrow just because I kind of liked the artwork here by a guy named Isaacs, I think. Let me see how his first name. I'm so bad at names. Sean Isaacs, written by Joshua Williamson. It's a good jumping on point is the main thing I can say. It introduces all the characters in the Green Arrow mythos, and it sort of has a two-pronged attack with some stuff happening in the modern day with basically the people that he's sort of got on Team Arrow, more or less. And then he himself has been transported into the far future. It's interesting. As somebody, I like the Green Arrow. I don't love the Green Arrow, but this is a good jumping on point, and the art is very, very strong. Very strong. Yeah, there's a lot that, yeah, it's good superhero stuff. Very good characterization with the acting and the faces and stuff like that. Here's another highlight from this week. Blue Book. Oh, what to say about Blue Book? This is only issue 3. James Tynion, Michael A. Von Oming. It's talking about some real life people who believe that they encountered aliens from another planet. It's very haunting. It reminds me of stuff like Fire in the Sky, Communion. if you've ever seen or read either of those, and the best episodes of the X-Files. And that's probably because it's based on two real people and has real people at the heart that like don't really want to believe what they encountered, but can't help but believe it. There's enough ambiguity that you really wonder. And I also want to give Michael Avon Oeming credit for this layout in particular here, where the main characters are sort of at night, like looking up into the sky, and it's making them feel very small. And you go from like this frame, this panel, which is literally a window panel, to seeing that as like a smaller piece of the house. And we're just using negative space to it being really small. And it does make you feel kind of small, because if aliens exist out there and can do interplanetary travel, that does sort of make it feel like we're a smaller part of whatever's out there. Yes, Fire in the Sky freaked me out too. And I was a teenager, and I had to drive home at night from the movie theater, and I was really freaked out that night. Just want to say that, yes, it is the story of Barney and Betty Hill. They have a very interesting story. And if you haven't read it yet, this comic is a great way to encounter it. Oeming is great. He always delivers. This is such a great page design. Oeming is the best. No, they were from New Hampshire. New Hampshire, not Washington State. I don't know if there's a famous couple from Washington State. I have to admit, I don't really know outside of this a lot of UFO lore, like people that claim to have been abducted. And personally, I don't necessarily believe it, but it's like Mulder's poster. I want to believe. So within a story, I can easily let myself go there. And this definitely reminds me of the creepiest X-Files episodes where people have like just glimpses, flashes of something creepy that happened to them. So, no, really? The Hill's granddaughter is a UFC fighter? What a world. What a world. Don't get abducted. I don't want to get abducted. I don't want to get abducted. It's good. Speaking of alien comics, Monarch from Rodney Barnes is a pretty good comic. I've heard that that's a pretty good comic, so I've heard that. I do recommend this, folks. It's creepy in a unique way. Not like overt horror, like violence and stuff like that. Creepy in the sense of, if this is real, what that implies is very scary. That's a scary idea to think that there are creatures that are more advanced, that look at us like we look at other animals, and that we are a smaller part of the world than we thought. Don't know. Last book I'm getting because, hey, it's Steve Scroce. He doesn't do a lot of comics, but he's doing this one, Clobberin' Time. Just like the old Marvel 2-in-1, where Ben Grimm, the Thing, would team up with another superhero. That's what this is. This particular one is him and Wolverine against a brand new character from the future that literally, in one scene, pulls Ben's rocks apart a bit to see what he looks like underneath. And it's all like fleshy and gross. And that'll like almost trigger your trypophobia. Yeah, so roguish type. I did see Nope. It was pretty good. It was definitely pretty good. Ben Grimm is a guest on Krakoa, speaking about the difference between being, sort of a superhero and a mutant and things like that. But mainly him and Wolverine just get into like an action scene right away, fighting futuristic robots and stuff. And Wolverine just gets decimated. The villain is like kind of goofy. He's got this metal nose. Makes him look like a real doofus. But he's dangerous. So that's a nice... and there's like some of the Thing getting sort of pulled apart. It's very creepy. It's fun. It's fun. But in terms of the... yeah, ew. But you want to see your heroes go through something so that like you can believe if they're getting hurt that they can come back the books of the week that I would recommend the most strongly, there are 4 as far as new books. And again, the one that I recommend the strongest was Deep Cuts. I really found it interesting. I flew through that. Blue Book is really creepy stuff. Aliens. Stunningly creepy crime book about corruption in Gotham City and the creation of Riddler, written by the guy that played him. And Ambassadors, mostly so that you can see Travis Charest artwork, which is always an interesting treat. So hopefully that's helpful. Tonight, folks, thank you for the distraction. I could really use it. I am just going through quite a bit of pain. Even just moving these comics around hurts tremendously. So I definitely need to get some pain medication in me. That's my journey. But yeah, it was really nice having you all here so that I could talk about comics. That's fun. Crazy week. Let's hope that IDW gets on its feet, but even more importantly, let's hope that the employees at IDW are able to land jobs in their careers. And other than that, you know, we've got some fun comics and potentially movies to look forward to. So I hope that that's what happens. We'll be hopeful. We'll try to be positive. Let's see. Yes, you're welcome. Thank you for being here, folks. You definitely have added to it. When there's more people here and there's like interesting conversation and questions, that really helps. Thank you, Andy. Let's see. I thought the guy in Clobbering Time was Matsuo Tsurayaba. No, it is not. A slow artist, but a great one. Yeah. Thank you for the kind words. All right, folks. Been good talking to all of you. Wow. Just under the wire, Mandela Butterfly. Thank you for the super chat. Eat some taco cheese whiz. I really don't want to. Just jumping on. Well, you can always go back and rewatch. And also on my main channel, Comic Tropes, there's a new episode that I think is pretty funny. Let me end it with this. So, just being honest and upfront, I'm dealing with 2 health issues. I'm dealing with something internal that is taking a long time to diagnose exactly what's going on. I'm dealing with something very serious with my shoulder that's keeping me in constant pain. But here's the positive. I'm seeing doctors regularly. We're trying to figure out what's going on. Reason I'm mentioning this, not trying to drum up sympathy, I do want to let you know it's impacting how fast I can put together an episode, okay? Because the shoulder, like when I have my hands up to edit and stuff, it hurts bad. It hurts really bad. So I can't sit down for the same prolonged editing sessions that I used to be able to. I have to take more breaks, and it just means that I am going a little slower on creating Comic Tropes. It's frustrating. I want to create more. I've got a lot of ideas that I want to get to, but it's physically so painful. I have to take breaks. And I think you guys would want me to take breaks. I don't think anybody's going like, suck it up, go faster like that. I'm just explaining where I'm at on that. Show a lot easier. You know, I'm mainly just sort of sitting here chatting with you, clicking through some news items. That's not too hard. I enjoy doing this. Acupuncture, I have to diagnose exactly what's going on. So next step is an X-ray. After that, probably an MRI or maybe a CAT scan with contrast. But so those are some of the things that I'm doing first. We've been treating it like it's a torn rotator cuff, and I went through a lot of physical therapy. Helped a little, and then it got like much, much worse. So don't know. I still lean towards thinking it's a torn rotator cuff. It feels like there's some muscles that are just torn off the bone, but I don't know. Yeah, you know what? A lot of people have suggested I look up frozen shoulder. I don't know what frozen shoulder is, so I should look that up when I get home. But I'm just giving you guys an update on the health, and it's frustrating to be in that kind of a position. It really is, because mentally, I want to be more busy. I'll also say this. This will be like my last thing about all this. This health stuff is stressing me out, and I've definitely been eating as like a form of like giving myself like something to feel happy about, you know, like eating stuff that I wouldn't normally eat. And I think it's obvious that I've put on weight. I've probably put on at least 8 pounds in the last like month or so. I don't like being like that. I want to be healthy. So these are some of the things I'm working on. But yeah, this stress is bad. Frozen shoulder equals adhesive capsulitis. I'll look that up. I'll look that up. But yeah, I thought it would just be fair to share that. I'll tell you one more piece of good news though. Again, today I got a shipment from Diamond of all those Vampirella covers, the ones that I agreed to sign for people. So I'll be doing that. And so that stuff will be coming out your way. When I ship that out, I'll also ship out the statues that a few of you out there won. So, and I know one person won an original piece of art as well. So I'll have that out pretty soon. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in a week. Maybe I'll see you even earlier if I can get a Comic Tropes episode out in between this and next Monday. But anyway, until I see you next time, keep reading comics. Bye.